The crowd roars like a thunderstorm, sweat and tension thick in the humid Kinshasa air. George Foreman's massive fists pound against the punching bag with enough force to shake the entire gym. His eyes burn with determination, each impact echoing his promise. Destroy Muhammad Ali. The undefeated heavyweight champion of the world doesn't just want to win. He wants to punish the man who's been taunting him for months, calling him a gorilla, questioning his intelligence. A reporter steps too close, microphone extended. "Champ, they're saying Ali's got your number, that you're too slow to catch him." Foreman stops mid-punch. The room falls silent. He turns, towering over the reporter, his face unnervingly calm. They'll be carrying him out on a stretcher. 5,000 miles away, Muhammad Ali sits alone in a dimly lit hotel room, staring at newspaper clippings spread across his bed. Headlines scream about his impending doom. Boxing experts unanimously predict Foreman will not just beat him, but potentially kill him in the ring. At 32, they say Ali is washed up, has been facing a younger, stronger, more devastating puncher who's knocked out every opponent he's faced. Ali touches the fading bruise on his rib from sparring, wincing slightly. The pain is a constant reminder of his vulnerability, of what awaits him in the ring. His trainer, Angelo Dundee, had begged him to postpone the fight after seeing the injury, but Ali refused. He knows postponement means defeat before even stepping into the ring. The phone rings. It's Don King, the fight promoter. "Muhammad, my man, how you feeling? Ready to shock the world?" Ali's voice shifts into his public persona, loud and confident. "Ready to dance with the gorilla and make him look like a fool. I'm gonna float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble." King laughs, but there's tension beneath it. "That's what I want to hear. Listen, the press conference tomorrow. I'll handle it." Ali interrupts. "Just make sure Foreman shows up. I got something special planned for him." After hanging up, Ali's smile fades. He moves to the window, looking out at the unfamiliar Zaire landscape. The weight of what he's facing settles on his shoulders. Not just Foreman, but age, doubt, and the whispers that he should have stayed retired. He feels the eyes of the world on him, expecting failure. In his pocket, his hand closes around a small piece of paper, a note from his mother. "Remember who you are." His jaw tightens. The world is expecting to see a murder in the ring. Instead, he's planning something nobody will ever forget. Back in his training camp, Foreman sits as his hands are being wrapped. His trainer, Dick Sadler, speaks in low tones. "Ali's playing mind games, calling you names, trying to get under your skin. Don't let him." Foreman nods silently, his expression unreadable. Privately, he's been having dreams about the fight. Dreams where he hits Ali so hard the man never gets up again. The thought haunts him, not because he's afraid of hurting Ali, but because a part of him admires the former champion's courage, even if he'd never admit it publicly. A young Zairian boy somehow slips past security and approaches Foreman with wide eyes. "Monsieur Foreman, who will win, you or Ali?" The room tenses. Foreman's handlers move to remove the child, but George raises his hand, stopping them. He leans down to meet the boy's eyes. "What's your name, son?" "Jean." "Well, Jean, what do you think?" The boy hesitates, then whispers, "Everyone here loves Ali. He is one of us." Foreman doesn't react for a long moment. Then he reaches into his bag and pulls out a pair of boxing gloves, signing them before handing them to the astonished child. "Maybe after I win, they'll love me too." As the boy leaves, clutching his treasure, Archie Moore, Foreman's assistant trainer, approaches. "You know why they love Ali, don't you? It's not just his mouth. It's because they see themselves in him. The underdog, fighting against the giant." Foreman says nothing, but the words sink deep, unsettling him more than he cares to admit. For the first time, a sliver of doubt enters his mind. The press conference the next day is chaos. Ali arrives first, unusually subdued as he takes his seat. The room buzzes with anticipation. Everyone expects the typical Ali show of bravado and poetry. Instead, he sits quietly, watching the door. When Foreman enters, the energy shifts. He moves like a force of nature, surrounded by his entourage, face set in stone. As he takes his seat across from Ali, he doesn't make eye contact, staring straight ahead. The moderator barely gets through introductions before Ali suddenly stands. "The great George Foreman," he shouts, pointing dramatically. "Look at him, the heavyweight champion of the world. Everybody's scared of George Foreman, even the government's scared of George Foreman." The room erupts in laughter. Foreman remains stone-faced. But I know something they don't know. Ali lowers his voice, leaning toward Foreman conspiratorially. You don't scare me, George, because I know something about you. I know your secret. Foreman finally looks at him, a flicker of confusion crossing his face. I know you're human, Ali says, suddenly serious. Just like me. For a split second, something passes between them. A moment of recognition that transcends the animosity, the hype, the impending violence. Then Foreman stands abruptly, sending his chair clattering backward. October 29th, he says, his deep voice filling the room. That's when you'll learn about fear. He walks out, leaving the press clamoring and Ali watching his back with an inscrutable expression. That night, alone in his room, Foreman receives an unexpected visitor. Drew Bundini Brown, Ali's assistant trainer and spiritual advisor. Foreman's security is about to throw him out when George waves them off, curious. What do you want? Bundini steps closer, lowering his voice. Man to man. No cameras, no reporters. Just listen. You're about to face something in that ring that you ain't never faced before. I've faced Ali's kind before. Foreman growls. Fast talkers who can't take a punch. Bundini shakes his head. Nah, champ. You faced fighters. Muhammad ain't just a fighter. He's carrying the hopes of people all over the world. People who've been beaten down, told they ain't worth nothing. When you step in that ring, you ain't fighting just one man. Foreman stares at him unmoved. Tell Ali to bring whoever he wants into that ring. I'll knock them all down. As Bundini leaves, Foreman turns to see his reflection in the mirror. For a fleeting moment, he sees not the invincible champion, but a young man from the Houston 5th Ward who once had nothing. The same hunger he recognizes in Ali's eyes. The stadium in Kinshasa pulses with energy. 60,000 voices chanting, Ali Bomaye. Ali, kill him. The sound penetrates the concrete walls of Foreman's dressing room. Each chant is like a hammer blow to his concentration. He's never been the villain before. His trainer massages his shoulders. Ignore them. They don't matter. Nothing matters except what happens in that ring. Foreman nods, trying to recapture the cold focus that has served him so well. But something feels different tonight. The voices outside aren't just noise. They're a message, a force pushing against him. For the first time in his professional career, George Foreman feels truly alone. In his own dressing room, Ali sits surrounded by his team, eyes closed in meditation. The roar of the crowd calling his name should be encouraging, but it adds to the weight of responsibility. These people aren't just fans. They've made him their champion in ways that transcend sport. His longtime physician Ferdy Pacheco checks his pulse. Heart rate's elevated, Muhammad. Would be worried if it wasn't, Ali replies with a thin smile. Angelo Dundee kneels before him. Listen to me. Forget everything else. The crowd, the politics, the odds. In that ring, it's just you and him. But remember the plan. Let him punch himself out. Stay on the ropes if you have to. He can't keep that power going all night. Ali nods, but his mind is racing elsewhere. He'd spent hours studying Foreman's fights, seeing patterns others missed. Behind the raw power there was fear. The fear of a man who had never been tested, never had to face real adversity in the ring. Ali understands that kind of fear intimately. It had been his companion when he chose exile over Vietnam, when he lost everything for his principles. It's time, someone announces. Both men make their way to the ring through separate tunnels. The contrast couldn't be more stark. Foreman marches forward with his team, face impassive like a soldier heading to battle. Ali dances, playing to the crowd, feeding off their energy, though those closest to him can see the tension behind his eyes. When they finally stand across from each other in the ring, the size difference is shocking. Foreman looks hewn from stone, muscles rippling under his skin, implacable and terrifying. Ali appears almost fragile in comparison, older, less defined. The odds of 7-1 in Foreman's favor suddenly seem optimistic for Ali. The referee gives instructions. Foreman stares through Ali as if he's already unconscious. Ali leans in, whispering something only Foreman can hear. You've never been hurt. That's your weakness, not your strength. The bell rings. Immediately, Ali does the unexpected. He attacks, firing a right hand that lands flush on Foreman's jaw. The champion blinks in surprise as the crowd erupts. It's a psychological ploy, not a tactical one, and both men know it. Ali has just announced that he isn't afraid. Foreman responds with controlled fury, stalking forward, throwing punches that could fell an oak tree. Ali slips some, but others land with concussive force against his arms, his body. The impact is visible, rippling through Ali's frame. Ringside commentators are already describing the beating Ali is taking. By the third round, the pattern is established. Foreman pursues relentlessly, throwing punches that would end the fight if they landed cleanly. Ali covers, absorbs, occasionally fires back with fast combinations that sting, but don't stop the champion's advance. To the world, it appears to be only a matter of time before Foreman breaks through and ends it, but something strange is happening. Ali is talking, constantly talking through his mouthguard. "That all you got, George? I thought you hit harder than that. My grandmother hits harder." Foreman shows no reaction, but inside, confusion grows. He's landing punches that have knocked out every other opponent, yet Ali remains standing, taunting him. Doubt creeps in, imperceptible to everyone except Ali, who senses it like a shark senses blood. By the fifth round, Foreman's punches, while still dangerous, have lost some of their snap. His breathing is more labored. Ali, leaning against the ropes, absorbing punishment, sees what no one else can see yet. Fatigue setting into the champion's shoulders, his feet slowing by fractions of seconds. Between rounds, Angelo Dundee whispers urgently, "You're letting him hit you too much. You can't take this punishment for 15 rounds. Ali sips water. "He's getting tired, can't you see it? I can feel it. When a man gets tired in there, it's like drowning. I've been there. He hasn't." The sixth round brings more of the same. Foreman attacking, Ali covering and countering when possible. But now the dynamic shifts subtly. Ali begins to hit back more frequently, his punches sharper, more precise. Foreman's attacks grow more desperate, wilder. The crowd senses the change, their chants growing louder, more hopeful. As the seventh round begins, something remarkable happens. Ali, who has been on the defensive for most of the fight, suddenly stands his ground in the center of the ring. He waves Foreman in, chin exposed. "Come on, George, show me something." Foreman charges forward, throwing a massive right hand. Ali slips it by inches and counters with a lightning combination. Right hand, left hook, right hand. Each punch landing clean. Foreman's eyes momentarily lose focus. For the first time in the fight, he takes a step back. The stadium explodes. Ali presses his advantage, moving forward now, his hands a blur. Foreman covers up, absorbing the punches, but something has changed in his demeanor. There's a moment, brief but unmistakable, where Foreman has a clear opening for a devastating counter. Ali's chin is exposed as he throws a wide hook. Foreman sees it, starts to throw the right hand that has ended so many fights before, but then hesitates. In that split second of hesitation, Ali lands another combination. Foreman backs into the ropes, his expression showing not just physical fatigue but something deeper, recognition, as if seeing Ali truly for the first time. The bell rings, ending the round. Both men return to their corners. Foreman sits heavily on his stool, his trainer shouting instructions that seem to wash over him without registering. His eyes remain fixed on Ali across the ring. "What happened out there?" Dick Sadler demands. "You had him open. Why didn't you throw the right?" Foreman doesn't answer. How could he explain what just happened? That in the heat of battle, he'd seen something in Ali's eyes that changed everything. Not fear or weakness, but an unbreakable will that commanded respect. As the eighth round begins, both men rise from their corners transformed. Ali moves with renewed confidence, his footwork lighter, his combinations sharper. Foreman advances with determination, but also a new awareness. This is no longer just about destroying an opponent. It's about proving himself against a man who refuses to be broken. The crowd senses the shift, their chants evolving from bloodthirsty to appreciative of the drama unfolding before them. This isn't just a fight anymore. It's something approaching art, a conversation between two warriors at the highest level of their craft. Midway through the round, Ali springs his trap. Having conditioned Foreman to expect him against the ropes, he suddenly plants his feet in the center of the ring. Foreman, momentarily confused by the change in tactics, hesitates just long enough for Ali to unleash a lightning-fast combination, culminating in a straight right hand that lands flush on the champion's jaw. Foreman stumbles backward, his legs suddenly unsteady. Ali, sensing the moment, pounces with the killer instinct that made him champion years before. A flurry of punches drives Foreman toward the ropes. Now it's the champion who's trapped, his back against the ropes, his arms heavy with fatigue. Ali launches a right cross that connects with devastating precision. Time seems to slow as Foreman's massive frame begins to tilt, his legs finally betraying him. As he falls, their eyes meet one final time, a look of mutual recognition passing between them. Foreman hits the canvas with the impact of a fallen redwood. The referee begins the count. 1, 2, 3. The stadium holds its breath. 4, 5. Foreman tries to rise, his arms pushing against the canvas. 6, 7. He makes it to one knee, his eyes still clear despite the punishment. 8, 9. He reaches for the ropes. 10! The referee waves his arms. It's over. The stadium erupts in jubilation. Ali raises his arms in triumph, his face a mixture of exhilaration and disbelief. He's done the impossible, beaten the unbeatable, silenced every doubter, rewritten what's possible in the sport of boxing. As his team rushes into the ring, lifting him onto their shoulders, Ali breaks away and does something unexpected. He walks to where Foreman sits on his stool, surrounded by his dejected team. The arena grows quieter, watching this moment of truth between conqueror and conquered. Ali extends his hand. After a moment's hesitation, Foreman takes it. "You're a great champion, George," Ali says, loud enough for those nearby to hear. "Stronger than I thought. Tougher, too." Foreman nods, his disappointment visible but his dignity intact. "You beat me fair, but I need to ask you something." He lowers his voice. "In the 7th round you knew, didn't you? You knew I couldn't do it." Ali's expression grows serious. "I knew you saw me, George. Really saw me. Not many men do that in the ring." In the post-fight press conference, a reporter asked Foreman about that critical 7th round. "Champ, it looked like you had an opening but didn't take it. Was that when you knew you were in trouble?" Foreman, his face swollen but his eyes clear, considers the question carefully. "In boxing, there are moments that define you more than any victory or defeat. That was one of those moments." "What do you mean?" the reporter presses. "It means," Foreman says slowly, "sometimes respect is more important than winning." The headline the next day reads, "Ali shocks the world. Foreman falls in 8. But beneath the public narrative, a different story begins, one of transformation for both men. 3 weeks after returning to America, Foreman receives an unexpected phone call. "George, it's Muhammad." "Muhammad?" Foreman says, surprise evident in his voice. "How'd you get this number?" "I have my ways." Ali laughs. "Listen, I've been thinking about our fight. What happened in that 7th round? Nobody else saw it, but I did." Foreman is silent for a moment. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do. You pulled that right hand. You had me, but something stopped you. I want to know what." The line goes quiet so long that Ali thinks Foreman might have hung up. Finally, the former champion speaks. "I saw something I didn't expect," Foreman admits. "All those months I'd built you up in my mind as this villain, this big mouth who needed to be taught respect. But in that moment, with you against the ropes, still fighting, still talking, I saw courage, and I couldn't bring myself to throw that punch the way I wanted to. You know what that makes you, George? What's that? A better man than people know, maybe better than you know yourself." Years later, after Foreman's remarkable comeback and redemption, after he reclaims the heavyweight title at the age of 45, he sits for an interview about his career. The reporter inevitably asks about that night in Zaire. "Looking back, do you regret losing to Ali?" Foreman smiles, a far cry from the brooding young man he once was. "That fight was the best thing that ever happened to me. It taught me I was a man, not a machine. It helped me find my humanity." "And what about that moment in the 7th round that you've never fully explained?" Foreman looks directly into the camera, as if speaking to someone specific. "There are some things in boxing that stay between the fighters, but I'll say this. Sometimes, in losing a fight, you find something more valuable than victory." In his home in Michigan, an aging Muhammad Ali watches the interview, his hands trembling from Parkinson's disease. As Foreman speaks those words, a smile spreads across Ali's face. He understands what remains unspoken, that in the heart of combat, in that fleeting moment in the 7th round, something profound and unexpected happened. Two warriors recognized each other's humanity. The greatest victory wasn't Ali's triumph or Foreman's eventual redemption. It was that moment of respect, invisible to the 60,000 watching, when George Foreman chose to see Muhammad Ali not as an enemy to be destroyed, but as a man worthy of respect, even at the cost of his championship, his undefeated record, and his fearsome reputation. And in that choice, both men found something more valuable than any title, a connection that would evolve from bitter rivalry to one of boxing's most unlikely and enduring friendships. In the decades that follow, as both men move beyond boxing into different phases of life, their bond deepens in ways neither could have imagined in the heat of that Kinshasa night. When Ali's health begins to deteriorate in the 90s, it's Foreman who often defends him in the press, speaking with eloquence about Ali's courage both in and out of the ring. During a particularly difficult period when Ali is hospitalized, Foreman visits privately, away from cameras and reporters. They don't understand what it was like, Foreman tells Ali, sitting beside his hospital bed, to be in there with you, to feel what you could do. Ali, his speech slowed by disease but his mind still sharp, smiles. You felt it because you were worthy. Not everyone could see what you saw. In 2016, when news breaks of Ali's passing, reporters flock to Foreman for comments. Expecting platitudes, they're surprised when the normally jovial Foreman appears somber, reflective. Muhammad Ali and I were one person, he tells them. A part of me died when he died. Later, in a private interview, a journalist asks what he meant by that enigmatic statement. You had to be there, Foreman explains. In that ring in Zaire, something happened between us that night that changed both our lives. We fought each other, but we were fighting the same battle in different ways. What battle was that? The journalist asks. The battle to be seen for who we really were, not who the world wanted us to be. Foreman pauses, collecting his thoughts. Everyone saw Ali as this invincible hero, or this polarizing figure. They saw me as this destroyer, this monster. But in that ring we saw each other as men. Flawed, scared sometimes, but determined to show our truth. The journalist hesitates, then asks the question that has intrigued boxing historians for decades. In the 7th round, there was a moment where many experts say you could have ended the fight but didn't. Was that deliberate? Foreman is quiet for a long time. You know, the strangest thing happens in championship fights. Time slows down. You see things others can't see. In that moment, I saw Muhammad not as an opponent but as a mirror. I saw his courage, his heart, everything he was fighting for. And something in me couldn't destroy that, even though destroying him was all I'd thought about for months. So you held back? I chose respect over destruction. It cost me the fight, but it gave me something more important. It showed me who I really was. At Ali's funeral, Foreman is one of the pallbearers, his face etched with grief as he helps carry his former rival to his final rest. Afterward, surrounded by mourners sharing Ali stories, Foreman remains largely silent, holding his memories close. It's only later, speaking to Ali's widow Lonnie, that he reveals what he's never told anyone else. That night in Zaire changed me forever, he confesses. Not just losing, but what happened between us in that ring. Muhammad showed me that true strength isn't about destruction. It's about standing for something bigger than yourself, even when the whole world is against you. Lonnie squeezes his hand. He always said you were the strongest opponent he ever faced, not just physically but spiritually. We pushed each other to be better, Foreman says, not just as boxers but as men. As he leaves the funeral, a young boxer approaches him asking for advice on an upcoming fight. Foreman places a hand on the young man's shoulder. Remember this, he says. The greatest fights aren't won with your fists but with your heart. Muhammad taught me that. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do in that ring isn't throwing a punch. It's recognizing the humanity in the man across from you. The lesson of that 7th round in Zaire, the punch not thrown, the respect given at the cost of victory, becomes Foreman's most enduring message as he mentors young fighters. Not the techniques of his devastating power, but the wisdom of knowing when power must yield to something greater. Years later, Foreman stands before his induction into the Boxing Hall of Fame, his speech peppered with his trademark humor and wisdom. At the end, he grows serious, his voice dropping to an intimate tone that hushes the audience. People often ask what was the greatest moment of my career. They expect me to talk about regaining the title at 45, or my early knockouts. But my greatest moment came in defeat, in the 7th round against Muhammad Ali, when I learned that true greatness isn't about conquering others, it's about conquering yourself. As the crowd rises in applause, Foreman looks upward as if addressing someone beyond the ceiling. "Thank you, Muhammad," he whispers, "for helping me become more than a champion, for helping me become a man." In that moment, the story comes full circle. From the hostile build-up to their historic fight, through the revelation of the seventh round, to the lifetime of growth and friendship that followed. What began as a battle for boxing supremacy transformed into something far more profound. A lesson in respect, humanity, and the unexpected ways we find our best selves through our greatest challenges. And somewhere, perhaps, the spirit of Muhammad Ali smiles at his old friend and rival, the man who once refused to hit him in the seventh round out of a respect that transcended their sport and ultimately helped define them both.